Good morning, everybody, and welcome. We're coming toward the end of our Pain Points week. It's been fascinating trying to address some of the most important issues facing hospitality in March 2022, and today won't be any exception, I have no doubt. I am Jane Pendlebury, CEO of HOSPA, and you're very welcome, and we're very grateful for you joining us here. I'm pleased to be joined by David Barrett from PIC PR. And just for full disclosure, PIC PR are the company we use at HOSPA for all of our PR support, social media, plus all the video content and photography that we put out is all courtesy of PIC PR. We have a great working relationship with them, and I value their contribution highly. But David won't talk too much about that. He's already assured me of that. Today's issue is all about learning how clever marketing, digital marketing, can really help a business stand out from the crowd. And of course, standing out from the crowd for guests is important, but also to stand out for employees and to convey the culture is also important for hoteliers too. But I think we just need to get stuck in, don't we, David? And do you want to just say a little bit about who you are, and then you start with what you think the biggest issues are?
Yeah, okay, of course. Thank you. And thank you for the very kind words, Jane. So just a bit of a background on us for people who don't know anything about PIC. So we're officially 10 years old. April the 2nd is going to be our big birthday. So that's exciting, a bit of a milestone for us. We've since sort of day dot, we have always worked in the hospitality industry. Our first client was a luxury sort of country house estate, and it makes up sort of 50% of what we do. We pride ourselves and sort of talked about ourselves as being very much a creative comms agency. So at the agency, we have a PR team, we have a social media team, we have a video and photography team, we have copywriters, we have designers. So we're very much that comms bit. So whoever you're trying to reach, we will get that message across. It's about building brand awareness and directing traffic to your website. So very hot on the digital marketing side of things. And then I guess for us, Jay, and I must say, like the previous sessions have been ever so good. I've taken some really neat nuggets from all these, and I think we know obviously the big issues in terms of staff shortages, trying to get off OTAs and all that. But really like what Case was saying yesterday, in terms of the travellers are now a lot more digital savvy. The last 2 years, everyone's online, and I guess for us and for hotels, that means we really need to prioritise digital marketing.
Yes, and we were just having a chat, weren't we, just before we pressed the button to go live, about how everybody just needs to make sure everything is up to date all the time. And it was during lockdown, so many marketing people were put on furlough, and then you'd go onto the hotel website and there were lots of areas potentially you could even still book, even though we knew the hotels were closed and not open to leisure travel, but a lot of them didn't update about when they were opening or what their COVID protocols were, and that was a massively missed opportunity, and marketing must never be pushed down the agenda as it was then.
No, I mean, obviously I'll fly the flag for, marketing should be a high priority, but it's hard, I get it. And it's a tough, it's a topsy-turvy world, and you're trying to second guess what Boris is going to say, particularly when it was, when we were right in the heart of it, so 2 years ago, a year and a half. I live in the heart of the Cotswolds, and there's so many hotels, we've got some lovely hotels, but just the basics just not getting done. We were trying to figure out, can we book a table? Are they open this night? Is the bar open or whatever? So I think a key point is just to ensure that priority, the website stuff is up to date, and particularly social media. Everyone is gone on to social. It's insane. So again, it's frustrating if you still can't find out the info on that side of things. So it just needs to be prioritized as much as it can be.
You picked up on what Case was saying about digital natives and all of that, but the overriding theme throughout the week has been the staffing issue, finding good staff, retaining good staff, and you came up with quite an innovative idea for maybe recruiting front office staff and getting them involved in other things. Do you want to just explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah, again, I think it was from the session yesterday with Case, when he was saying, the tough roles to fill are housekeeping and front of office, and we say to a lot of our clients, well, perhaps to try and make the front office role a bit more sexy, task them with social media. Social media is cool, it's ace if you've got some targets and KPIs, to try and build that audience, try and build that followers, get the engagement going, and ultimately try and get get bookings. So you know, you're really proving your worth from that point. So I think that's a great way to start. Culture was talked about, that you sort of touched on, Jane, and it has been throughout the week. We do a lot of sort of recruitment culture stuff here at Pick for our clients, lots of video stuff, you know, to try and get that sort of message across about how cool it is to work in a hotel, be it you're the chef or front of house. And people want to see that. And personality, I think hotels really do fall into the of just not getting, you know, that, you know, it's hospitality is cool, man, and you know, we know the problems, and I think in the UK compared to Europe, you know, we are poor. It's not seen as that career sort of choice. We get that, but it's weird when, you know, a lot of our clients, we work for independents, and it's often owned by very rich people. And when they make their money in business, they want to run a hotel because it's cool. It's a cool place to be. And if you start off in hospitality, you can, you know, it's such a career path. So I think it's just trying to get that message across as best you can.
Yes, as we've doing, and I've done a few plugs this week for our Share Your Success and Why I Love Hospitality campaigns that we're doing, but they're really fascinating. I love watching the submissions when they come in, why people do love hospitality. But just going back to your point about people on the front desk maybe doing the social media during their shift, like I can see that that's very immediate, very current. How do you maintain culture during that? You want to put an image out, and if you've got different people with different attitudes, would you come up with a would you have, you know, framework of suggestions of how they phrase things, or do you just let the personality of the individual show through?
Yeah, there's a few ways to do it, and it all depends on the people. So ideally, you know, if you're employing someone front of house, they're going to have something about them. You know, they're the first people you sort of see when you sort of check in, and so you don't really want to restrict that person. You know, you want them to be who they are, and yeah, say it as it is on social. But obviously, you know, they've got to be, you know, saying the right things and talking in the right language, and there's a whole big part of tone of voice and all sorts of things, and being on brand and strategy that comes into it, of course. But you do really want to try and shine that personality and get that personality through. I think the challenge is obviously hospitality people do move around quite a bit, and so when that happens is, you know, if that person is tasked with that social media task, that they've gone. So it's trying to work out a sort of a plan from there. But we always say to clients, if they can be doing social themselves, it can really work. You know, people, it doesn't have to be over-engineered. You don't need professional video and photography. When it's raw and real, it's nice. You know,
yes.
You know, catching a nice sunset or a sunrise, or, you know, out on the bar and the terrace or whatever it is, and that's what people want to see. So, you know, we try and encourage clients, if they can, do it themselves, and yeah, bring that personality into it.
And would you say that when people are putting stuff out there on the social networks or anywhere, even putting a job advert out, getting the culture across is probably more important than it ever has been before? The sustainability masterclass on Tuesday with Sarah, we talked a lot about culture, and I don't think we can restrict it just to millennials coming up and wanting a purpose. I think it's going through everybody now, and that's, I guess, key to recruiting as well as to bringing guests through your door.
Yeah, culture is talked about a lot, isn't it? And again, I think the best hotels that have that culture don't actually need to talk about it too much. So again, that's why you need it needs to come out from your comms. You know, it needs to come out from your e-newsletters. It needs to come out from your social, that you are a fun, friendly team to work for. Sometimes, when you over-engineer it too much, it just, and push it hard, it just doesn't work. You mentioned Sarah there. I listened to that session. Very good session. And I really liked she's coming from the sustainability angle, but I really liked what she was saying about, people want to work for sustainable businesses. Doesn't matter if it's a hotel or whatever. So I think getting that sustainability message out again on all your comms, people need to see it. I think Jamie mentioned over at Watley Manor when they put the black bins into see-through bins, to sort of show just how bad it and serious it could be. That, all that should be documented on social, and people need to see that. Even guests want to stay at sustain. They will pick hotels because of what they're doing from a sustainability point of view.
Yes, absolutely. And shouting about it is important, isn't it? I mean, I think Sue at Watley Manor has done a fabulous job of saying what they've done for sustainability, and she's a bit of an beacon for the industry. Everyone knows it. You should be speaking to her or Danny Pecorelli exclusive, because they're the ones that have done it best or appear to have done. There are lots of other hotels who have also done phenomenal things, amazing things, but then just not shouting about it. And I think that's probably a culture thing in many ways, is that if it is people of maybe it's a certain generation, maybe it's just hoteliers. Some are very flamboyant, some are really desperate to shout about what they've done. Others just think, well, we're doing the right thing. It's not quite good enough sometimes, is it, to do the right thing?
No, because just people don't know. Yeah, that's like us. We do really great work here, and we fall into our, but we don't tell people. If you're not telling people, they're not to know. And it is hard. You don't want to look like you're sort of blowing your own trumpet. And it's the classic UK. We're quite reserved. But it needs to be done, and that's when I guess a lot of our work as well is digital PR. So what I mean from that is talking to online publications. I mean, every print publication has got an online version now. But like I said, the world is digital. And most hotels want to engage with their local audience, so they're trying to push the F&B side of things, as well as get the staycation stuff still going. So talking to national press and get overseas visitors coming as well. So you need to be, if you're doing anything amazing, anything great, anything newsworthy, you need to not only just put it on social, but talk to local journalists, talk to these online publications. And get it out there, because it would just help build that brand awareness, and then ultimately, it does improve your rankings naturally on Google and so forth. And there's a whole sort of SEO puzzle there, and I won't go into too much sort of detail now. But if you've got very good online publications talking about you, there's nothing better than the BBC or the Daily Telegraph or any of the national. If they're talking about you and they're linking back through to you, Google sees that and therefore looks at you and says you are an important website, and therefore you will naturally just climb the rankings. And so yes, any of this good story stuff needs to go out. And then looking at your own website, most hotels have blogs, so you need to put this on there. And the truth is, guests don't really read your blog, but it's an SEO tool. You're essentially creating landing pages. And you can write a blog, one of the best sustainable hotels in the country, and then because someone will type that in, and they might just land on your blog and start, and that's just, that's a big part of it, and that's how it sort of works at the moment with Google. They change their rules, every 2 seconds, but that's how it is. So it is content, but it's got to come from the news stories, and it's got to come from your people.
And are the days gone where, well, certainly I know in our household, the days are gone where we get the Sunday papers and they sort of sit around all day Sunday. I can't remember the last time I bought a Sunday paper, but I remember, especially when I was in hotels myself, to be in the travel supplement of the Sunday Times or whatever it is was just the best thing you could want. How important is that? I guess if it's in the printed version, it's going to be on the digital version too.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so it is important. But we talk, and it's still very much the focus when we talk to. I was talking to a client yesterday, who's a new client who's just come on board, and their first thing is like, from a PR point of view, I want to be in the Sunday papers. And you go, well, that's all well and good, but there's some really powerful influencers out there. And if you get them staying at your hotel and talking about you, that will make far more of a difference in terms of bookings than being in the Sunday press. But it is important, and in that traditional media, I guess if we're talking about the Sunday paper, like you said, they're all online anyway, so it helps. And the print is nice because it stays on someone's coffee table, but it's online, and again, that plays the Google game, because the Daily Telegraph is a hell of a website in Google's eyes because of the footfall it gets, and therefore you're super important if you're on there. So traditional press is, but it's changing. It's just trying to get that. It's digital. That's where you really want to be. Like you said, you haven't looked at the Sunday papers for weeks. I haven't. Shouldn't really say that as someone who's from a PR agency. But it's true. But we're all on iPads. We're all on our laptops. And everyone's been working remotely. A lot of us have for the last 2 years when you're in the office space. So your laptop's just always there. It's on your sofa, or when you go to bed, last thing you're just looking at your phone. And we're into that habit. But that's where we get our news from. That's where we get our feed from. So that's why being online is critical. It's so important.
Can I just pick up on what you said there about influencers? Because I think if there's say a hotelier watching this today, they'll say, well, how do I find an influencer? How do I rely? How do I trust? How do I know they are what they say they are? Of course, you can look at their following, but then we all know about bots.
Yeah,
How do you find a good influencer, and how do you know they're doing a good job for you?
Yeah, there's various knacks. I mean, we use a lot of software here. We spend a lot of money on software that helps us. There's a platform that we use that's called Influencer Intelligence. It's really neat, and it's not too pricey out of all of them. That's a nice way. I mean, basic desktop research, just going on, as you can see, it's quite easy to pick up that if someone's bought followers. I mean, we've got a term here. There's a lot of drib bloggers out there. There's a lot of drib blaggers as well. So people are setting that. I'd love to set up a blog myself called the most amazing hotels in the world, and then just start emailing hotels and just say, oh, I run this amazing blog and I've got 100K, over 100,000 followers on it. Can I have a free stay? So there are people out there who try it, but if you can get through to the right people who've got a true audience, and there are some very good influencers out there, and they will make more of a difference if they had a nice stay with you and then do a write up, or they put it on their Instagram stories, than probably being in a print publication on a Sunday. And it's just, I think it's just trying to be firm as well with the agreement beforehand. So what are you giving in return, and what are you sort of getting back type thing? So are you giving them a night's stay, look after them, a nice little hamper in the room when they arrive, a bit of champagne, spa treatment if you've got a spa, and then they check out, and then in return, they're doing X amount of posts pre, during, and post their stay is ideal, and have that in writing. But yeah, it can be a power, and it's a basic PR tool. There's no clever thing here, is there? You're just inviting someone who's got an influence to come and stay, and it's just an obvious thing. So, but again, hotels aren't doing enough of it. It's the easiest way to get the best coverage and the best online coverage.
Something Rupert mentioned on Monday when he was talking about upselling guests and just generating additional revenue once people are in house. He used the example of putting a Polaroid camera in the rooms. So I think that's a great way. So you can actually turn all of your guests, all of your fully paying guests, into influencers. Maybe not quite with the reach that a professional influencer would have, but there's got to be ways of encouraging your guests, like with the Polaroid. But there's other things as well. I think one of his things was go to the Instagram. They were going to tell them where the Instagrammable spots, either locally or within the hotel itself. So that there must be lots of tricks like that.
Yeah, there is, and I love what he was saying. I hadn't quite thought of it like this. When people are booking a holiday, they're quite strict in how much they're going to spend. They look at lots of hotels, and then they finally go, okay, 500 quid for 2 nights, and we'll stay there, great. But then as soon as they get to the place, they do start spending. So and you want to try and encourage them obviously to spend more, and social can help that. And also therefore there's lots of tricks that you can get your guests to help you with your marketing. So that the Polaroid trick is a lovely one. We do one for clients where if they've got some really nice bedrooms with views, and we stick a postcard of that view in the room. And then on the back of the postcard, it will say, well, actually, who sends a postcard these days? Why don't you put this on your Instagram, hashtag us, tag us in, and we'll share the love type thing. But that's a neat way of just monitoring them as well. And so not only are they helping do the marketing side, but you can be smart with it. And if it's a neat picture and someone's down at the front desk looking at it and monitoring the hashtag, they can just go, oh, that's a lovely picture. Why don't you come down? There's a glass of wine here waiting for you. That kind of stuff, and it gets that interaction going. There's lots of neat tricks, but getting your guests to do stuff whilst there is perfect, and social is the tool to do that.
And hotels in the Cotswolds and any rural or coastal location did brilliantly over the last couple of summers, even 2020 when things were only just opening up. But 2021, they all soon saw a real booster year. So much so that I know a number of hotels who made more money in 2021 than they'd ever made before. But it's quite difficult to shout about that when there was so much dreadful stuff going on for the city hotels. But there must be some tricks to try and get those staycationers back again, to keep them loyal, or to keep their interest, to keep them wanting to come, when a lot of people are now saying can't wait to get on a plane and just have guaranteed sunshine, which we struggle with here in the UK.
A bit. There is. I mean, it's hard, isn't it? Because it's just such a topsy-turvy world, and yeah, I mean, we've got, obviously, being Cotswolds based ourselves, we look after quite a few Cotswold hotels. We've got a lot in Cornwall, Yorkshire, Lake District. So we're quite fortunate that most of ours are in nice sort of destinations. And they had record-breaking summers, and it's looking like it's going to be the same this year. People are still nervous to go abroad, obviously with everything that's going on. So people are nervous to go abroad. Chatting to clients this week, there seems to be a lot of last minute deals sort of happening as well. People are leaving stuff to the last minute. So I think going back to whoever stayed with you last year is just staying in basics again. It's CRM system, e-newsletters going out on a regular. It's telling people what you're doing. It's telling people you're still here. I think the exciting bit now is, we can start doing events again and cool experiences. So hotels can start doing their gin and tea things again, out on the terrace or whatever that. So it's putting together some really neat, experiences or packages. And if you are partnering up with someone, so if you are doing a gin and tea, and Cotswold Distillery here down the road and are quite well known. And if you're partnering up with that, they can go out to their database and start pushing it on social. So it all sorts of helps. And again, it just goes about talking about what you're doing. That's it, really, isn't it?
Yeah, getting the message out there. And we may, it's dreadful things happening in sort of Ukraine and Russia at the moment, but it will all affect business travel. I think we put something out on social yesterday about how business travel is coming back, and it certainly is. I'm definitely getting that feedback from the city, London hotels, Manchester hotels, that it's really coming back. But I think what's happening currently could start to have a very negative influence on that. I know, sweeping statement coming up, but Americans look at Ukraine, they see it's Europe, so they're not going to come anywhere near the UK or France or anywhere.
Yeah, well, the first two letters are UK, aren't they? So they're probably
stop reading after that.
Yeah, they just stop. Yeah.
So that's going to be a problem again for the London, the city hotels, that we're seeing a rise in business, or an increase in business travel. But I guess they can still focus out to more local markets. I know some of the London hotels did it brilliantly. They would just change their marketing completely from a business hotel into a very family-friendly hotel. There was one that changed their suites into family-friendly suites, as opposed to what had previously been a bedroom and a meeting room all attached. They were just making maybe dogs welcome, all sorts of things. And we've got to be a lot more nimble now. I
think that's the key word, isn't it? It's adaptability, flexibility. Like I said, it's been a topsy-turvy world, so you've got to sort of change as best you can. Obviously, a lot of hotels are limited in what they can do, but I think it is just if you can adopt as quickly as possible. That's the key, and then getting the message out there. Because it's instant. Digital is instant. And that's what people want. Again, everyone's moved online, and they're always on the phone, and they expect instant.
Yes, and quick, nothing too time consuming as well. It's too long.
And like I said, they're making last minute decisions about staying and stuff. And I think, going back to your point on corporate stuff, I think there's a lot of businesses in the UK who actually are wanting face-to-face, particularly like team building day, stuff that they couldn't have done because they've lost the culture a bit in their office, because they're not haven't been in the office. They want to get people back. So I do think there is going to be a big scene from a corporate point of view. So it's obviously very much worth looking into that. If it's not going to come internationally, I do think it will happen here.
Yes, and many smaller businesses typically have given up offices completely. They were paying high rents, couldn't get people to the office in 2020 and a lot of 2021, so gave up the office when the lease came to an end, and haven't necessarily gone back to that structure. So I think there's a massive opportunity there for hotels to encourage those, even if it's just the team getting together in the restaurant, but it could be that they let out their smaller business room meeting rooms once a week, once a month to the same company, and they have their meeting in that. That's what they do, and there's lots of opportunity attached to that as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Did you not tell everyone you were on a webinar?
No, sorry. Yeah. Yeah, sorry. That's the joy of live Zoom. Sorry, I've got everyone messaging me as well. Brilliant. No, but that all makes perfect sense. It's a crazy world, but it's just being as nimble, as flexible as possible,
And would you say that the hospitality hotel industry have sort of speeded up a bit? I use the phrase so much during the adoption of technology was accelerated so much during COVID. Do you think we are now a little bit? We were so much the last of the party.
Yeah, so slow. I used to talk to but before COVID. So this, only 3 years ago, 4 years, about the importance of social, and hotels wouldn't really listen or take it seriously, I think, in terms of what it could actually do from an income point of view, in terms of actually bringing you sales. It was just like, it's just a sort of chatty's all a bit fluff, and there's no point, we'll be on it because others are on it, but that will be it. And again, at the priority, the top of the agenda would be about national press and the major print or trade media or whatever. And then, so I guess a good point out of everything that's happened in the last 2, is actually people have recognized that if we can get our digital offering right, from the website, from e-coms, from social, we can really make it work. I touched on that. We have a lot of social media sort of software. Well, lots of software here. One really neat tool that we've got that has really worked for clients. We've got some really mega smart, like, listening in tools. Sounds a bit big brothery and a bit creepy, but to give you an example, a hotel can put their postcode in and set a radius of sort of 20 miles or 25 miles. And if they're trying to, they're a wedding venue or trying to push their wedding offering, they can monitor anyone who's within that radius, who's put, oh my God, just got engaged, oh my God, he's just put a ring on it, anything like that, hashtag, new couple, whatever, that will come up, that comes up on our system, and we can then start following them from the hotel accounts. And then, not congratulations, there's again, glass of wine here if you want to come in. We've got our new wedding brochure for 2023 is out or whatever. And so when hotels understand that, or GMs and hotel, and like, oh, okay, this is pretty smart, because if you sell a couple of weddings from just some nice, clever social media activity, it's a bit of a no-brainer, really. Yeah. So yeah.
Typically a fair amount of profit in your average wedding as well. So worth spending some money on doing that. And I know you work, and we were running out of time, but just I know Pick PR, just because I know who you are as a company, you do a fair bit in care homes as well. I've always thought there's a lot of similarities, a lot of differences, absolutely, but a lot of similarities between the care sector and the hotel sector as well. From a digital marketing point of view, I guess you have to approach that differently, though.
Yes, a little bit. I said at the start, when I was introducing Pick, that we've always been in hospitality, and then from our hospitality work, we've got into care homes, so high-end luxury care homes. If they were in the hotel world, it would be 4-star, 5-star, and they remind me of hotels 5 years ago. So they're way behind in stuff, and the reason, it is different, but it's interesting to sort of compare. But the reason being, they've had it quite good. They've made quite a bit of money. So there has been money for, there has been a rainy day fund. Competitors have been there, but the demand has been there. So they've had it. People would quite literally just walk in. So when we pre-COVID, our sort of PR work and marketing work for our care homes was, if I'm honest, a bit fluffy, nice feel-good sort of stories. Whereas now, obviously, they got hit massively. So occupancy rates are low for them, inquiries are low for them, because people are nervous about putting their loved one into a care home. And so our marketing for them is really gone up a level, and it's got very strategic, because they really need these inquiries and bookings. So, but they're very, comparing them to hotels, very, very behind. That hotels have still got a lot to catch up. We start working with clients, and still their websites are poor. So there's no point us driving lots of traffic if all that's going to happen is people are going to bounce off.
Yes.
It is interesting to draw the comparisons.
And the website, I guess, is the first. If you're looking to book a hotel, that's going to be one of the first places you go to, whether that's on your laptop or on your mobile devices, very likely. And you're right. They need to be very easy to find out what you want. And I remember listening, I think it was Frank Reeves from Avio was saying that I think it's 7 visits to a website before you actually make a booking. And so often, as soon as you go on that website, and it frustrates the hell out of me when I go on a hotel website, because it's rarely to book, it's usually to find out something that I need to know about the hotel. And I'm just bombarded with, book here, what nights are you coming in? And you're thinking, no, I just want to find your address, or I just want to
find something out. That's what I find when you're open.
Yeah. So so it's important to get those digital messages right. And I guess they can do it themselves in many instances. But if they're looking for help, then there's
always an agency to help.
There's always an agency to help.
Really, really good ones out there.
Yeah. Well, we chose a good one. So that works. Yeah. Right. Well, we're coming towards the end of our time. I could talk to you all day about this. I think it's fascinating. And if people do have any questions, they're very welcome to get in touch either with David directly or with me, and I can put you in touch with David and his team. But it was really fun talking to you, David. Thank you for your time. And I'm sure the audience will have picked up some great tips from you. This and all of our masterclasses are recorded and will be available to view on the website later this week. And please do register for tomorrow, which I'll be talking to Maria McRae from Ivy and Linda Best from Swinfen Hall Hotel. But thanks for listening today. Thanks, David, and goodbye, everybody. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.